Buonasera, Ian.
Buonasera.
Evening. Talking about the food, I've heard from a friend of you that while being in Italy, you cooked a pizza on a barbecue. That was something really good for us.
Who told you that? Who told you that? It was very early in my life in Italy, and I hadn't quite figured out your cooking yet.
But going back to that period, what has that period, those 2 years in Italy, given to you in order to become a former player, a coach, and a person that you are now? Thank you so much for the reply. Maybe if you want to try to do that in Italia, for us, it would be okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Non sono sicuro che io posso parlare abbastanza bene per te. So, look, for me, it was my mid-20s. I came over with my wife, fell in love with the people and fell in love with the way of life in Italy and the joy of sitting around a table and discussing and preparing and just the whole table and the food and the whole culture here I just fell in love with. So it was very formative in my time. As a young player, it enabled me to come over here and probably express myself on the field a little bit more than what I had in New Zealand, and when I went back it probably was very good for my rugby. So special friendships, special memories.
Thank you so much.
Grazie.
Okay, Elliot Smith, jump on in.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, Ian. It's been a while, I'm sure, since the All Blacks fielded a second row combination with 10 caps between them. What gives you the confidence that these two are ready to play a test match together?
Well, they've played a lot of rugby together, Elliot, when you look at, through Taranaki and age group stuff and also their time in the Chiefs. I think there's two different players here, and so, look at Tupou Vavaia. He's been with us from last year through to this year. Every challenge we've given him, we've been really confident that he's been able to nail it. So, I think he's a growing force. He's learning to really trust himself and just express himself on the park. And we've seen very similar qualities in Josh since he's come in. He's a different frame and a slightly different style lock, but very energetic, very mobile, and I just love his attitude. He's just come in, he's spoke his mind, he's contributed, he's asked questions, and we're delighted to be able to give him a start.
And in terms of the last two matches, do you have an idea in mind for your 23s? I guess the question, how many places are up for grabs as you look into the last two matches of the tour this weekend?
Look, we went into this Northern Hemisphere tour with sort of a 3-game plan, and this is the 3rd game, obviously, and after that, we know that we've got Ireland and France waiting, and as a group of selectors, we've got a pretty clear plan for Ireland, but I'd be pretty surprised if there weren't a number of players that start on Saturday that aren't starting in one of the next 2 tests.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go Ollie, and then Mark Hinton, and then Melita.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, Fozzie, how are you?
Ollie, good, thanks.
What have you seen from Sammy, Kane and Dane Coles, I suppose, over the last couple of weeks in their return to rugby that gives you the confidence to put them out there and start this weekend?
Just massive desire to play for this team. They both love the jersey a lot. They've been away. Sometimes when you're away, you sort of, it can reignite a bit of passion for the team and to be part of it. And I've certainly seen that with both those two coming back in. So we've had to bide our time because whilst we have got a lot of faith in both those players, it's a significant length of time away, but trained well, enthusiastic, and running around like anything at training today. So pretty excited about seeing them play on Saturday.
For Sammy Kane in particular, he's had quite a bit of time away from rugby with that injury. Were you always comfortable handing him back the captaincy as well as his first start in the All Blacks for the year?
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of faith in him from a captaincy perspective. I think that's been pretty obvious over the last couple of years. I think in this case, it's, we haven't, I think we said that, we weren't in a hurry to rush him back into the captaincy thing. We wanted him to come back in, but the way the selections worked out for this group, it's, we really felt it was right. We wanted to give Sammy Whitelock a little bit less time. Brody's shoulder, whilst it's really good, we didn't want to use him in this game. And Artie, well, he had a monstrous game last week and really feel he's better having a rest. So I think the captaincy sits really easily on Sam's shoulder. And so in some ways, I think it's probably just going to sharpen his preparation for this week.
Thanks, mate.
Hey, Foz, Mark here.
Hey, Mark.
Just on Richie Malanga starting for you at 10 and this weekend, I mean, it's a different position for him, and I know, a lot of that was to do with circumstances. Just how have you seen him, since he's rejoined you, and what's your sense of how he's tackling this challenge and obviously his opportunity this week?
Just explain to me this challenge, Mark. I didn't quite understand.
Sorry, just with Richie, just being in a different position, he was obviously being the first choice 10 since 2019, and circumstances now have him kind of,
Yep. Okay. Sorry.
In a different position. Just how have you seen him tackle this challenge?
Yeah, look, he's been great, and it's he's, I mean, we're excited for him and his family with the birth of a baby, and so there's circumstances that have, the cards have been dealt in that space, and so he's come back in and he's been phenomenal. I was massively impressed with him last week when it was. It became a little bit of the Bodie show, didn't it, with 100 tests and that. But Richie's support and behind the scenes was phenomenal. So, and so I'm delighted he's about to play, and I'm sure he's going to play to his normal levels, if not even better. He's very determined. He's, everyone's competitive, and he's like everyone else. So, and he'll certainly be eyeing up some time in the next couple of weeks as well. So, we've been really pleased with him, and liked what he brought off the bench, and now I know that he's back in the groove with us 100%. I'm looking forward to seeing him start.
Thanks, Foz. And just on the theme, I guess, of the depth you're developing on this tour, and it's been one of the real ticks, I'm sure, for you. Just your young midfielders, we spoke to them a bit earlier today. They're obviously very excited about their chance. How excited are you about, I guess, the long-term potential they offer?
Yeah, look, I'm very optimistic. They, both Quinn and Braden, I think, growing through this tour. They look very settled. I think I'll use the word comfortable. Not that anyone can really be comfortable here, but they seem to be really confident in themselves. I thought this week their training was up 2 cogs from what it was in the USA week, and so I think they've banked away a lot of confidence from that game, and they know this is going to be a much bigger challenge. But I think they sort of see opportunities. They know it's a big occasion for them, and delighted for them. But they bring their own little strengths, and we've got a strong ball carrier and a great defender, and we've got a guy who's a equally good defender, but also very, very quick in the way he attacks. So there's a nice blend there, and can't wait to see it develop.
Melita, jump in.
Sì, buonasera Ian, come va?
Io sto bene, grazie, Melita.
Ian, I have 2 questions for you. First of all, I would like to know, presumably, Kieran Crowley quite well. He's a Kiwi. You've seen him how he's coaching Canada and Benetton. What type of Italy are you expecting to see tomorrow on Saturday?
Yeah, look, that's a tough question. I don't know. I think in many ways Kieran probably hasn't had a lot of time to put his mark on the team. But we do know he's rock solid in how he prepares it. I know his foundation work with Treviso has been about growing the self-reliance of the players and involving them in the decision making, and I think he clearly got them in a really good space, and I'm assuming that he'll be trying to do the same thing with the Italian national team. So, it doesn't happen overnight internationally, and so, but I certainly see a team that won't lack in passion and will probably be trying to focus really hard on the basics of the game, and it'll be interesting to see whether they maybe play a little bit more through their traditional methods of their forwards and try to bring that part of their game back stronger, or whether they try to play a really open game. So we're guessing a little bit.
Listen, in your career, you played, of course, on number 10. You played in Italy as a number 10. Now, I want you to tell me what you think about Paolino Garbisi, this young guy, 21 years old, is now transferred from Benetton to Montpellier. You see footage. Once again, what do you think about him?
Look, I haven't seen a lot of him, but we've been very impressed with what we do see, and Italy's had, quite a number of young 10s come through in the last 7-8 years. You look at Tomasi Allen and Kana. So you got a few guys that have come through that almost want to express themselves really, really well, and they don't seem to lack confidence when they get on the international stage. And so we kind of see those same qualities. So we'll see, we're very watchful of that. And so whilst a young man who's impressed us, we also want to make sure we apply a bit of pressure there too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bocca al lupo.
Grazie.
Liam, we'll go to you next, and then Zion from TVNZ.
Hey Ian, hope you're well.
Good, thanks Liam.
Just in terms of the internal competition, you've obviously got a whole host of people, putting pressure on for spots. How tough do you envision those, final two teams of the year to select, given, the breadth of depth that you're sort of growing?
Yeah, look, I guess I hope that it's incredibly tough. I think you only build depth when people seize the opportunity that you give them and they take it. And so what we've been delighted with is, I guess over the last 2 months we've made sure that we have given opportunity, but the real credit goes to the players. They've been preparing really well, and the reason we're talking about our depth at the moment is because we've basically, to a man, when we've given someone a jersey, they've gone out there and done a really good job, and that's still the challenge going forward. I mean, you can get overconfident with that, but the reality is we've only got good depth if we keep producing great performances. And so, when we look at the last 2 weeks of this tour, a lot of that's going to depend on the quality of our game on Saturday. We can't excuse anything below a level that we really want to play at on Saturday. So if we get the level that we want and play well, then there'll be a lot of pressure on the last 2 weeks, and that's the way it should be.
And I guess, how do you, to this point, you've been able to rotate, and then in the final 2 weeks, you might not be able to, so there perhaps be a few more difficult conversations coming up in terms of, guys that have played might not be playing.
Yeah, I don't lack difficult conversations every week, to be honest. There's generally about 13 or 14 of them on a Monday night. I don't think they enjoy getting a text from me, but to come and see me. But look, that's all part of the game, and everyone knows that. There's certainly going to be a lot of competition going forward the next few weeks. I don't see it being a closed door from whatever we do in the Irish test to maybe going into the French test. There's 2 different styles of game there, and we've got a number of options coming through. You look at, I'll give you an example, is like your Dalton Papali'i, I thought was really strong against Wales, and now we've got Sam Kane coming back. So how do we get that balance right in the last 2 tests of the year? And that's just one example of many. We've got some big decisions to make at hooker, and a whole range of things. So there's a few headaches coming up, there's no doubt about that, but they're good ones because we've got players who are putting their hand up, producing the sort of performances we want, but every week you do that, there's more pressure on the next week to carry on doing it. Cheers.
Oh, Zion, jump in, TVNZ.
G'day, Ian. Just with Dane Coles and Sam Kane starting in the starting lineup, I mean, how much more experience and I guess leadership will that add to the team on the field this weekend?
Yeah, Zion, I think considerably, and I think if you look at the selection of this group, you can sort of see the need for those two. It's having those two back whilst they've it's their first start for a while after long-term injuries. We've got a lot of faith in them, and I think having them around a number of young players that are starting in this team. It's going to be critical because, you know, test matches, there's always a lot of pressure on, and particularly early, we know we're going to get asked a lot of questions, and how we, I guess, keep our composure through that period. So having the likes of a Dane and Sam in there, driving the standards and the communication is going to be vital for that period.
And just with some of the inexperienced guys in the group, the new guys coming to the group, how much do you think they've sort of grown, I guess, from when you left to play in the Rugby Championship in Australia to now, coming into the last 3 games of the season?
Yeah, that seems a long time ago, didn't it, that we left New Zealand? And, you know, I guess in rugby terms, in many cases I've seen a lot of guys, and this is an analogy, but you've seen guys sort of leave as boys and now become men. And I mean that in a sense of a rugby player. Like the guys have grown dramatically through this period, and it's the time together, the comradeship, I guess, of being on the road and being locked up a little bit has been really tough at times, but it's also been character building. And I can't speak more highly of our leaders, the way they've led that program and been able to grow a lot of younger players. So the challenge now is we've done well so far, but we've got to finish, and this Saturday I think is vital for this particular group to really make a statement that we have learned what we need to learn so far.
And just finally from me, off the field, seeing some of the boys getting around some of the sites, I mean, is it nice to sort of go around, roam around Rome and I guess get out and not have to be stuck in your hotel all the time? I mean, how's it been for you, and how's it been for the players? Yeah,
look, it's been an incredible bonus to go and do a few things, like I know we're from the safety of a bus, and we've been able to get off the bus and do a couple of things where we're isolated, so it's been within its own little bubble set up, but it's been fantastic to be able to get out. Like, part of touring is to actually open your eyes to new cultures and new experiences, and ironically I actually think that helps feed the rugby player in the game, because you get a better balanced person who's got, can switch off the rugby, switch into other aspects of life, and I think the few opportunities we've had each week have been vital in terms of keeping a vibrant mood in this group.
Appreciate it, thanks mate.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll finish up with Alex McLeod from Rugby Pass. This will be the last one. Thanks, Alex.
Cheers, Jay. Hey, Ed, hope you're doing well.
Good, thanks, Alex.
First test since July for Shannon Frizzell on the bench. What are you hoping to see out of him, given the competition for the number 6 jersey with the likes of Ikeda Ioane and Nathan Blackadder in the squad?
Yeah, really, really good question. It's I think like for guys that've been away for a long time, it is always tough coming back in. But Shannon is coming in his own sort of way. He's coming really quietly. He's done his work. We've got to remember that he's a reasonably experienced rugby player at an All Black level, and I know he's desperate for an opportunity. So he's been frustrated with his shoulder that sort of kept him out of a couple of weeks, but it's nice to be able to see him, all the work that he's done to get to this point, to be able to go out in the park, and I can't wait to see him get on the field and really express himself, to know that we did the way that we know he can. So what level he will play at, I'm not too sure, but if it's based on what we've seen at training, I'm reasonably excited.
And I know in the lead up to the Welsh test last week, Angus Tattavale sustained a dislocated elbow. Was he not included in this week's match because of that, or is he recovered and that was more of a...
No, he's out, Alex, for definitely out this week, definitely out next week, but there is a possibility of him being available for the last week. So no, definitely it's more than a 1 week injury for him, and it's but to be fair, he's actually recovering a little bit quicker than what we thought, so that's good news.
Just lastly from me, I know Plum talked about it briefly earlier in the week, but he mentioned Brady O'Tellett was sort of recovering well from a shoulder injury from last week. Can you sort of just provide an update on that and the likelihood of him playing from next week onwards?
Yeah, really strong for next week. He's recovered a lot quicker than we thought, and so he got through a really decent line-out session and a bit of push and jump going on in there that he got involved in, and you can't keep him out of that sort of stuff, and he seemed to come through that pretty good. So I'd say the signs are pretty positive for next week.